that could slake. Gone is the wrath that made the foe break. When the rivers ran red, red, red. 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 When the rivers ran red. Gone, gone are those halcyon days. We were all so young. Gone, gone are those halcyon days. Aged when we were done. Gone are the screams still in my head. Gone are the fields of the glorious dead. When the rivers ran red, red, red. When the rivers ran red, red, red. When the rivers ran.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to my stream. Thanks for coming along to watch another LARP-ish type chat. This time we've got some wonderful folks from the Anvil Hospital to come and have a chat with. They're going to talk a little bit about what little bits around the hospital, what they do, their experiences, and things like that. Then we're going to let them leave, and then we'll have some more people come in and they'll do a similar sort of thing. Then they'll leave, and we'll have some other people come in, and then we're going to do a big Q&A as well. Feel free to ask questions throughout. I will happily ask the questions for you. So this is going to be about the Anvil Hospital, so ask anything you want. They are a fantastic place and a source of some amazing roleplay, especially for people who love to get hurt in battle like myself. So, if we go around, so if everyone introduces themselves, IC and OC, so give people a bit of a feel, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Anyone can go first. It's fine.
Hi, I'm Ed, and I play Dr. Tiberius of Ancarian, the hospital librarian.
Hi, I'm Sonia, and I play Dr. Beatrix Amalia de Rondel to Holberg of the House of Seven Mirrors. Beatrix is perfectly fine.
Hi, I'm Matt, also known as Uncle Timmy. In character, I am Vladimir Ilyich Petrograph of the White Streetcaster in League. Now.
Go League!
We are well represented today.
So the hospital wasn't there at the beginning of Empire. It was a very big player led thing. So Matt, like myself, we've been at Empire since the beginning. So there are people who've been there since the beginning. So out of you three, who's been with the hospital the longest? Or was there at its start? Sorry.
I see Tiberius, but
OC, both of us, because we both served in that very first shit, let's take over Merrick's because we need to sort this out kind of thing. So yeah, we were there at the very beginning.
Yeah, I joined the hospital a little bit later with my second character after my first character's untimely death, and realised I am basically best off playing the healer boyfriend. I enjoy the healer game.
Okay, right. They just said that your audio is a bit low, so I've just turned everyone else up, so that should be fine now. Any issues in chat, just say. Okay, so how did the hospital come about? Because I remember there being coming away from battles, and all you had was a blob of healers off to the side when everyone came back. So tell me about how it all sort of came about.
Okay, so it starts all the way back at the horror that was E1.1. And, yeah. I'll just wait for all the flashbacks to finish.
Yeah.
And it was three players. There's Erin, Jude, and Sarah, who were all sort of knew each other, I believe, from Maelstrom days, and all had come into the game with the same thing of, I wonder what I can do with like making an Imperial hospital. That'd be quite an achievement, wouldn't it? And they all pretty much found each other on the first night and realized that they all had the same idea. And they said, well, let's join forces, and sort of sent runners out on the first night, I believe, and certainly the second night.
Yeah.
And no, it would have been the second night. It would have been the second night, and we all met in Varushka.
Yes. It was it was up in Varushka because it was the top corner of the field.
Yeah.
And the only reason I wasn't at that meeting was the guy I was sharing a tent with had gotten hypothermia, and I was busy keeping the other guy together and didn't hit the field for any role play, so
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, makes sense.
So there are a couple of meetings over the next 2 days, and we sort of end up with a lot of the structure that you see right through to this day. So the way that most of the non-executive board is structured, the way that the executive board is structured, but we didn't have a tent. And what we used was we were very kindly given access to the Merrick's community hall in the Marches, and we used that for the rest of the first year. Somewhat separately, Nat, who played Cora, who you will know from, might know from the wiki because she's now become an exemplar, started the separate healer blob with me as an understudy up at the gate. Yeah. And that blob sort of very much tried to bundle everyone down who was injured down to Merrick's, which was quite a way, if you remember.
Yeah.
And that's sort of that is the quick version of the hospital's foundation. The quick and OC version of the hospital's foundation.
Yes.
You can always get Tiberius to talk about it.
I think that because we get quite a lot of new players who watch the streams that I'm putting on, and we have a running joke about character backstory and everything like that at the moment as well. But I'm actively encouraging all the new players to go off and ask people a lot of these questions and stuff. And I think the hospital will be an absolutely fascinating one for people to go to. I really, really do, because it's not just about the healing or anything like that. There's a lot of other stuff that they do there.
We've got a lot of stories we tell the new players, mostly at our own expense.
Occasionally, very much at our own. It's not aggrandizement, but it is nice to tell stories about each other's really amazing LARP moments, because we've all had moments, and that's something I love so much about the physics game, is how intrinsically collaborative it is. Because you work with other people all the time, but you also work with the person who plays the patient.
Yes.
And in that giving and taking, you can tell so many amazing stories.
We've had a comment from Liam in chat. He's just said, as a new player who wants to get into the potion game and possibly healing people with potions, I'd like to get to hear some stories from Anvil hospital staff. And Trelunda has said, Night of the Great Navari Gate Shock.
Oh, yeah.
So Matt, would you like to expand on that one for us? Because I was probably involved in that, but it doesn't ring a bell to me, I have to admit.
Right, I'll see if I can get this one right. All the new players who do not know how the Sentinel Gate works, when the heroes of Anvil go through the gate, they are given a time that they must return by.
Yeah.
If they haven't returned by that time, they can become trapped on the other side, which, depending on where you are, can be an inconvenience or a death sentence. Usually it's the latter, because the heroes of Anvil aren't usually called out to go to somewhere safe and easy, or near Anvil. If you come back late after the gate should have closed, but hasn't quite closed, you get an effect called gate shock. Think of the gate as a Stargate from Stargate SG-1. It's slowly moving out of position, and it twists and warps you as you try to walk back through it, giving you a variety of effects ranging from simple blunt force trauma, that's easy, to random magical effects. The refs love to cackle maniacally when handing out the special gate shock traumatic wounds. They get to dig into their pouches and find the ones that are interesting.
Yeah.
I have seen anything from people going, my lineage has changed. That person's got my liver.
Lightning in the blood is a
Lightning
favorite.
lightning in the blood is a common one.
Um,
Everybody's favourite bees in the bones is also a fun one.
Yeah, I've had that. I've had that. That one sounds very familiar. So we're getting quite a few questions come through. So this is good. Keep your questions coming.
And on the night of the Great Navari Gate Shock,
yeah,
the Navari went out on a skirmish and came back late. Lots of them.
It should be interjected at this point that the Navarre field commander had gone, we know it will hurt, we trust the hospital to fix us, we'll stay a bit longer.
Yes, it was a deliberate decision to push it as far as they could, and they did.
PicardFacepalm.gif.
And they came back, and the refs were waiting for them. Whilst everybody in the hospital was going, this is bad. They've been out there 20 minutes, longer than they should have been. The refs are going, we don't know if we've got enough traumatic wound cards for this. We've got PCs desperately trying to hold the gate open.
Yeah.
And then they came through, and the refs made it rain traumatic wounds. Everybody that came through the gate got multiple traumatic wounds.
I remember it actually. Yeah. Bees in the
Some of
bones.
them
had to fix.
Some of them were also exceptionally short timescale traumatic wounds as well.
Was that when the 15-minute summer ritual showed up?
15-minute death summer ritual.
Yes, if you didn't get fully fixed in 15 minutes, you were dead.
So,
and this was interspaced in, oh yeah, your arm's being crushed, or you've got bees in your bone, but don't worry, you've got summer magic competing with the bees that's going to make you explode. What do I fix first? The one that's going to kill them.
So we got a few more questions. As I was saying, we're going to get. I think we're going to get a fair few questions on this. So Helen has asked, what was the best injury you got to roleplay fixing?
I'll give Matt a chance to go first on this one again.
Yeah.
My favourite one I've ever done is actually the injury was really simple. It was a dislocated leg. And I have some little plastic shot glasses in a small pouch. And you crunch them, and they sound just like a bone snapping. I've heard real bones snap. It's surprising how close it actually is.
Mm.
And I was doing this one in a hospital, and my patient, role-played with me perfectly. As I said, right, I'm going to straighten your leg. This is going to hurt. They let out a howl of anguish. I crunched the shot glass, and in one of those random occurrences, the hospital fell silent, as all you heard was this poor bloke scream in agony and a crunch as I straightened his leg. Someone actually came over out of character and checked he was all right in case I'd actually damaged him.
That's brilliant. That's so good. That's so good.
It was one of those perfect moments where it all just clicked, as it were, and the patient played it up brilliantly, and we stayed in character throughout.
Fantastic. Right, who's
who's
next?
I've worked. So my favourite wound type is one of the magical traumatic wounds is your arm is turning to stone, and the physic must crush your arm into a pulp, rendering it useless, and then reassemble the arm to cure it.
Wonderful.
Generally, I like to borrow the biggest warhammer from the beardiest, gruffest looking Wintermarker present and really go to town on their arm, especially if it's one of the ones with a really good, really squashy head. So you can go ham wild on it.
Yeah.
And 9 times in 10, you've got the patient held down to the bench by a couple of his mates with the arm outstretched. And you say, hold still, this will only hurt for a little while, wielding a very large hammer. And they look at you and go, are you sure you're a doctor?
Brilliant. I like that. I like that.
My favourite moment of physicking in some way. Like the injuries are all great, they're all fun in their own way, but one of my favourite moments of physicking roleplay was actually at a play event, and there was random injured spot third from the left, me and another physic, and the other physic or the other player hadn't actually used the physics skill in absolute ages, and I knew she was a physic, but her character was doing completely different things. She was not very much embedded in the physics game and anything, but and she had told me before, actually, out of character, that she felt quite insecure about the healer game in general. Between me, who had been doing this stuff for 4 years at that point, the player of the patient, who was absolutely marvelous in taking every little cue, and her really getting stuck in his reactions, but also in my offerings, and then me taking what she had. It was just such a good scene between the three of us, and it was so much fun. And she came afterwards to both the patient and me, and when actually this has really helped me overcome like my anxiety around this kind of role play. And
it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's something that's always stuck with me because it was just so nice. It worked so well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So we've had I've had to pause my chat so I can see the questions, but I'm assuming it's kept on going. So we've had a question from Rachel. She says, "What are the IC and OC reasons for the hospital and being a physic? Is it purely altruism, or do you have other reasons?" I love my chat.
Liga should not cackle. There is actually something. I play a very high lineage changeling, and there is something in the changeling brief that says changelings can be incredibly helpful and very good at caring for others, mostly because they show they can. And that's always so Jen, my current character, who is my third hospital character in total, second kind of longer term hospital character. First, especially the other longer term Liga, I played a student. And when I genned Beatrix, my idea was she is going to be respected in the hospital. She is going to be a senior physic. Because I love that kind of game, and I wanted to play someone respected. And so I very much went in for she's a changeling. Of course she thinks she's the best doctor who's around, but she can also back it up. She doesn't bumble around thinking too highly of herself. And that, for me, was a very fun approach to it because it was helping others. But I've actually in character been asked whether I'm not selling myself short or being too little virtuous with what I do if I'm not failing on prosperity because I'm healing in the hospital. And my response was that every virtuous act someone whose life I've saved does in the life that I've given them in this lifetime reflects on my own virtue. And it's for me a very fun thing that to play with that is partially altruism and also partially, no.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more powerful.
So when you save a life, how does that reflect on you when they're executed for heresy? I'm joking. So.
Yep.
No one has asked that question yet, but it's happened.
Good. We're getting quite a lot of questions. So what would because I'm aware, because I've got 3 groups to get through. So what we'll do is if we go for because you're 2 are back for group 2 as well, aren't you?
I'm back.
He's back. I'm bowing out after this one.
Okie dokie. So so this will be a question for because Matt, are you bowing out after this one? Are you staying?
I can stay. I'm happy to stay for as long as I'm needed, basically.
Okay, well, we'll see who else is in group 2, and then we'll decide from there. So a good question for you 2 then. If you could, this is from Trelunda. If you could go back and give your younger self some advice on how to interact with the Empire medical world, what would it be? Go on in, Matt. You can field this one.
Well, originally, Vladimir is my second character, and I made a conscious decision not to interact with the hospital with my first character, because in the previous game system, I was heavily into the healer game, and I wanted to try something else. I went off and did the mage game.
Excellent.
Ended up picking up heal spell and realised I actually like healing. It's good role play.
Yeah.
So my advice would be, do it early. Get in there and give it a go. It is a little intimidating at the start.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people. You may not be very confident in your role play, but the great joy of the Empire healing system is anything you feel is appropriate healing role play, and you can justify by an impartial observer saying, yep, I can see how that would heal them. You can do. It's very freeform, so you can pick whatever style of healing you like. Now, most people fall onto pseudo-medieval cut and stitch roleplay because it's easy, it's fun, and you know it. But if you want to do magic crystals, mystical chants, healing yoga, seen that done.
Really?
Tai Chi has happened.
Oh wow!
It actually has happened. You can
And also,
do.
to further jump into that, healing is a resource management game, really. It's like a ritual. It's a black box of 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, however much you need for the rules. And 1 physic and 1 traumatic wound are required, and that black box goes in. And subject to not taking the piss, you spend 3 minutes doing that. It's entirely possible that you can't actually. So, dislocated limbs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't stretch a dislocated limb out for 3 minutes. I really can't. I've done my best. But diagnosis, pulling in new physics, talking to them through the injury, going and getting them a cup of water because they're dehydrated, trust me, even if they say they aren't. And there's a lot of stuff that isn't hands-on, that's 3 minutes, that's appropriate medicine, and takes me out of commission for the required time.
Yeah.
Yeah, hydrating your patient is big and clever. Do it. Carrying a water source or a water bottle on you is one of the most important things you can do, especially if they've just come off the battle in armor. They will be dehydrated no matter what they say. Tell them to drink some water. Make them do it. They'll thank you if they don't collapse of dehydration later.
I think one advice to my younger self would be in the Empire Healing game, sit the fuck down. You can roll off your back, we'll thank you. If you're not dealing with a patient, sit the fuck down. Because standing like that a lot, after a whole day, and especially back with the 4-day events of doing that, ow.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Right.
I've got one last piece of advice I'd give her, and that's Dr. Tiberius's player is actually a year younger than you.
Okay. So what we'll do is the stream's gonna go back to the beginning thing, and then we'll change out for the next group because we've been going for nearly half an hour, and then we'll change out for the second group, and then we'll go for more questions, have a little chat, and then we'll see how that one goes, and then we'll change for the third group. So don't go away. We will be right back. Okay.
Gone are the halcyon days, gone are the days of yore. Gone are those halcyon days when we went off to war. Gone are the clouds that hung overhead, gone is the rain tinged with red, when the rivers ran red, 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 when the rivers ran red. Gone are those halcyon days, virtues we were strong. Gone are those halcyon days, we could do no wrong. Gone is the pride felt on that day, gone are the friends that entered the fray, when the rivers ran red, 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 when the rivers ran red. Gone are those halcyon days, we were all so lost. Gone are those halcyon days, we gladly paid the cost.
Right, we're back again. So we have more people with us this time. Apart from the guy to my left, Ed, he's got a point, that one. Yeah, he's old hat at this now. He's been around. So what we'll do is, I do apologise. We are having some people are having interwebs issues right now. So if people drop out and keep coming in and out like that, just bear with them. Okay, we will do everything that we're doing everything we can. We've realised there are a lot of questions coming through. So what we are probably going to do is we will do another video and we will just take questions and we will have everybody responding to everything. The other thing as well is there is a Facebook group. I heartily encourage everybody to join that. If someone in chat is able to find it and link it, that will be amazing as well. And we can go on from there. So, a bit of echo. If we could do introductions, I don't know where everyone can see everyone, but I've got how everyone is for me. So, Ed, you don't have to. We know who you are. You're fine. Shush. So you stay there. So who? So we'll go with Amy above me. If you can hear me.
I'm Amy. I play Florina Isoldevrida Iorigo, or as Sonia said earlier, Florina is fine. And I'm the Brass Hospital Board Rep.
Excellent. Whoever wants to go next can.
Hi, I'm Susie. Sorry, I play Callan, the Marches Board Rep.
I'm Emma. I play Kerwin Edgestalker, the Navarre National Hospital rep.
Excellent.
And I'm Alia. I play Reese Myriad, who's the Dornish hospital rep.
Fantastico. So, this fits in quite nicely with the next question in chat, funnily enough. What is the role of the national reps?
That is a question.
That is.
Who wants to take that one?
Who's done it longest?
Oh, I don't think it matters. It's whoever can talk the most. Let's go for that one.
Don't tempt me.
Want to start, Emma?
Yeah, okay.
then.
What do we do? I've only been the board rep since I was only elected last year, so I don't know kind of everything. But the reps are there to represent your nation, I guess. So you attend board meetings and you find out things that are important in the Empire, kind of healing wise. You're also given big fat stacks of herbs before battles that you can dish out to your people, so you feel quite cool, sort of giving everybody all these herbs right at the beginning. And yeah, they're the kind of I guess that sort of things in a nutshell. I don't know if people have opinions about other stuff that we do, but that makes it sound like we don't do a lot. But
one of the big parts for me is kind of being a person who's kind of there for new players.
Yeah,
I think it's quite helpful if no one has kind of a physic in their group in the Brass Coast. What I tend to find is people go, talk to her, she's the bod rep, and I kind of get tagged a lot in stuff if new players are asking about the hospital, and they're kind of like, here's a good person to talk to. So that's kind of nice just to give people a starting point. And I approached the physic game and the hospital game actually in game. So it's good to go at it that way, but obviously some people kind of want to learn a bit about it beforehand, so it's kind of nice being there to people through it. It possibly would have helped me beforehand to kind of talk to someone or see, and that could have maybe made me feel a bit less anxious rather than kind of just launching in and going, here I am, I don't know what I'm doing. But either way people want to do it is absolutely great. And I think the nation reps are quite nice people to have. They're both IC and OC to kind of introduce people to the hospital game.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It means there's someone in the hospital who is of your nation. So I certainly find that if a marcher is coming up to the hospital, they go, ooh, straw hat, you are the person I'm going to talk to. Straw hat means somebody I can trust. And I expect the others and that a little bit too. And then we'll go. People go to their own nation first. It's from the design of Empire. The hospital is a big mixed group. It's people from every nation. Having a board rep is of your nation. Gives you a touchstone in the hospital, somebody to go and talk to. We take news back to the hospital, from the hospital to our nations, and back and forth a lot, and give information as well as herbs and things like, don't drink the mystery poison. If you have a mystery bottle, don't drink it. That tends to be a lot of what I say in muster at the moment. Anyway.
I'll always drink it.
You're the kind of reason we have to give those messages.
We can only advise. We can only advise.
The other thing to say about
it's distressing.
National reps. I'll let Elias speak.
Ali, sorry. Yeah, it's all right. It's distressing how commonly I have to go up to people and say, "Hey, don't drink that. Don't eat that. Put that. Where did you find that?"
Yeah.
So you feel like you're like your patient's parent in a way, then, when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Yeah.
The entire nation's parent, to be honest. Marina can often be seen kind of chasing down the Kohan going, I know you've got green lung, sit down.
Green lung, yes. Yeah, I know it well.
The other thing to say about the role of the board rep is the national board reps is it's the national board reps who make the decisions on hospital policy.
Okay. So within the hospital, then there's a like a board then you have everyone sits down. And do you have one person acting as like a CEO of the hospital? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. So
we have 5 non-executive members with no voting rights, which is the Chancellor, the Bursar, the Assistant Bursar, the Librarian, which is myself, and the Head of Triage.
Excellent. That's fantastic. This is something I think everybody will realise is that, because I've been into the hospital a lot after fights, battles, skirmishes, even a couple of times. I think it was a hub meeting. I ended up in the hospital after a disagreement with a herald and his 6-foot spear. It went wonderfully well, that meeting. So I've ended up in the hospital a lot, and this is stuff that you don't realise is going on or exists around the hospital. So, because I had no idea that this sort of stuff went on, none whatsoever.
Yeah, a lot of the time when people get to see the hospital, it's during chaos. So then all the vast majority of the player base who interact with the hospital, what they see is chaos time. And I don't think that like they kind of realise kind of what happens in between those times. Like we're actually quite organised. Although it may not necessarily, to the casual observer, it may not always appear to be the case.
Chaos.
There's a lot of work that kind of goes on to make that happen, and the fact that that's all kind of player run, I think, is really, really great.
So that's fantastic, and I think doing a proper video on this will work wonders as well for people. So we'll chat about that as well later when we're not on stream.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
So, as I say, there are loads of questions. I've been scrolling down, and I'm not even halfway yet. So I do apologise. So, what we'll do? So next question. Next question. This is a good one. I've been looking at this one, going, I like this one. What, in your opinion, could be done to improve the Empire medical game?
I saw that one.
Stop cheating! Don't read ahead.
Sorry.
No,
What do you think?
Amy, go for it.
I think, I think the only thing I can really think of, and this isn't necessarily kind of something that can be improved like as an overall part of the game, but for me personally, pretty much all of my physicking game happens at the hospital. And on the very rare occasion that I break past my family and actually get through the gate, which doesn't happen particularly often. But I don't actually do a lot of physicking kind of actually at home in the Brass Coast camp. So for me, something like more kind of personal sort of physicking stuff with people from a nation outside of the hospital would improve it for me. But that's kind of a personal thing and not necessarily a kind of a game change that needs making.
Yeah. Well, if you want to come into a battle and they don't let you, come find me because I've got my own unit. We need as many healers as we can.
Like, I'm going with these guys.
Yeah. Just tag along. Just give me a poke and then you're there. You're in. I need them all. I'm generally the one found 30 feet behind enemy lines. So, yeah. So it does happen.
I'm not following you. Like no offense, but I'm not following
you. Never follow me. It's stupidity to follow me in a fight. So does anyone have anything else to add to that one at all?
Yeah, something I automatically think of, and it's almost something that the hospital itself, in being created, has kind of solved. But there could be more of it, in that with every other kind of not archetype, but you know what I mean, every other kind of class that you can pick, there's something of a natural progression that you can aspire to. So for things like, if you are a magical, if you play a mage, you could become a mage of a magical realm, you could become the battle mage, you could become the Imperial Necromancer. There are lots of opportunities that are naturally presented for you to be ambitious towards, and considering being ambitious about things is very important to the Empire, kind of in brief. And again, if you want to be in the politics game, you can be a senator, you could be the speaker, you could, if you want to play military, you could be a general or a runner, or there are very natural kind of laid out things for you to aspire to, and the healing game doesn't have that like almost like written in. The hospital has kind of created that in itself, in that it has the national reps, and that was my character's aspiration from the minute I knew that existed, was that's what I want to do, and that was my ambition. But I've achieved that now, and I could maybe aspire to higher up positions in the hospital too. But it would be nice maybe if there were, like, I don't know, the Imperial Physic General, or I don't know, that could be maybe something that could be introduced as for people who are more aspirational. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good idea. And anything like that's the great thing about Empire, is you come up with any of those ideas, you can just bring it in.
So there is actually a physic tech tree, but it's hidden.
Really?
I don't want to, it's not a formal physic tech tree, but a lot of my build choices have been informed by the weird traumatic wounds that have very specific treatment requirements.
Yes.
So there are a number of wounds where the number of number of physicians actually able to treat it is quite small, as in fingers of one person level.
That's interesting.
That's true.
Character build doesn't really feature physics, certainly in the marches. Like, Kellen's a yeoman. Isn't really what she is.
No.
There is no character archetype that matches what Kellen is, which is a sort of Discworld-esque healer, which makes perfect sense in the context of the marches, but there's no archetype that goes anywhere near it. She is, according to the marches, a yeoman, so a landowner. And maybe acknowledgement that people want to play healers would be cool.
That's probably.
Yeah,
I mean, the Navarre. Go on, sorry.
Florina's a Corsair, and it's exactly, well, she's a Corsair, and she's Demiro as being, head of the family in the Brass Cross, which is absolutely is a key thing for her. She is head of her family. That's one of her defining roles. But if I had to kind of sum up my character in one word, if people from outside of Empire kind of say to me, "Oh, you LARP, what do you do?" Well, I'm a healer. That is the thing that I kind of default to. That's Florina's defining role. So if I could choose an archetype for her, the sort of head of the family thing notwithstanding, a healer one would be really ideal.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. Anyone else?
One thing that I find that kind of nice if we had more skills related to physicking. Like, it's nice that once you spend those points, you can do full game. You don't have to invest all of your points into physicking to become a physic.
Yeah.
Given that you unlock more and more points the longer you play for, if you're not interested in anything else really, much else to do unless you want to go into magical healing or spend your entire life with herbs making more and more potions for an ever-growing list of people.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cheat and a little bit. The system of healing that's been used at the 2 Triad player events very much focused on healing, which have actually got quite strict requirements. Like, you will need multiple physics to treat a wound, and often, you will have requirements that say you will also need someone who's got Daylor or hero points, and that was quite an interesting way of doing healing. I'm not certain if it's practical on the Empire field, but it did make healing fun.
Yeah, definitely.
It was so fun, but that was an event aimed specifically at healers at scale of a player event.
So, what would do is
I really do want to go to triage next time.
Triage next time.
Oh, good.
There's so many questions. So, I'll do something of a little bit of a quick fire one, because what we'll do is we'll put all of these questions into a video, and we can expand on them massively as well. So,
Yeah.
So from Helen, what's some things you wish more players knew about the hospital?
You can turn up at any time. There will be something to do, not just the battles.
That one.
Yeah, excellent. Anyone else?
Turn up early to battles.
Yes.
Won't get a bench otherwise.
Yeah.
Is that why sometimes I've been thrown onto the floor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because so many of you get injured.
Yeah.
It is through trying half the time. You do try to leave the field with an injury. Sometimes you do something cool, and that is it's the thought of getting a traumatic wound and ending up in the hospital afterwards. That's what's really good fun. So
that's what drives you.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So the plucky Brit. Is there much overlap between priests and physics? Which virtue do you see most, least often associated with physicking and the hospital?
Ooh.
Loyalty, easy.
Loyalty.
What? That's the least or the most?
That's the most associated loyalty.
Loyalty and pride.
Yeah.
Pride. Bit of courage, maybe, but like.
Yeah.
The first player exemplar was a loyalty exemplar, and that was Cora Holdfast, who's associated with the triage system in the hospital.
Ah, that's awesome.
I mean, you do see a bit of kind of virtue healing, because obviously, as was discussed in Group 1, with kind of physicking tactics, pretty much anything goes. So if your character, as well as being a healer, if their defining feature is that they are a priest, then you can use pretty much anything virtue related to do it. I know when Medea Ruth was still around, she used a lot of that. I can see the faces. I'm sure Karen will be very pleased. Yeah, so you do see a lot of that, and as you say, a lot of it is kind of sort of getting patients to think about their virtue and their loyalty and their pride in themselves and stuff. So I think it's kind of, I mean, I know all of the virtues are personal, but I think it's kind of the personal to being potentially fatally injured that are the ones that tend to kind of come up a bit more.
Someone's commented saying it looks like someone's fallen asleep. As I said, the internet for some people isn't amazing, so things are going a bit slow, but the audio seems to be fine, which is the important thing, so we can hear things. So I'm just the comments of Nina, why does everyone drink the mystery potion? Wow.
The role play.
Players are stupid.
I will second that. Yeah, players are stupid. Definitely.
The central conceit of the in-character religion is do the thing.
Definitely.
Yeah. People didn't.
No, someone said no. We're looking after for the hospital Facebook page at the moment, so I'll have to grab that.
Imperial.
The Anvil Imperial School of Medicine.
Medicine, yeah.
There you go. So type that into Facebook. You'll find it. So yeah, there's. I think I've probably missed questions. That might be the link. That might be the group link there. Rachel has posted the link to the hospital Facebook group if anyone wants it. Yep, it's all gone in there. What roleplay advice would you give to the players of Patience? Ooh,
ham it up.
Massively.
Yeah. The best fun I had was somebody came in once and I sort of, we said, oh, you're ripped open his traumatic wound card. Oh, you're incredibly injured. And he sort of just, and he fell to the ground and he dragged the bench with him and he was kind of screaming and writhing on the ground. And that's most fun. I mean, obviously if you're like knackered and you just want a break and a drink of water, like that's fine too. But you will have more fun and we will have more fun if you scream and cry and make life semi-difficult. Cause a scene, it's fun.
So I told a story of, I've already hinted on where I ended up in the hospital after having a meeting with a herald in the hub. I ended up actually picking up the person who was doing surgery on me, because she was quite small and I'm quite broad, I'm quite big, and she was sat on my arm as she was trying to do the surgery, and I ended up just manoeuvring her off of me, shall we say, and then I had to get held down by a few people. That was amazing fun to do, being actually physically pinned down to the floor so you can scream blue murder at everyone was amazing. A friend of mine, people may know him, Kit, he came out of a battle with 14 traumatic wounds.
Ooh.
I believe. And he survived.
That's impressive.
He survived, and he was in the hospital, I believe, for 25 minutes, getting everything done. And he loved it. It was the point I was holding him down, and everything was going on, and they were working their way through, and I was just like, yeah, leave him there now. Bye bye. Just left him to die, as I thought, and then he turned up later.
Was that in like year 2?
It was very early on, yeah.
Yeah, it was year 2. Very pale white Draugr.
No, not him.
Okay.
Not that, no, Kit's.
Case.
Yes, yeah, probably. So all I would say to anybody when you're having surgery, know what or you get the traumatic wounds, and on the back of them it tells you roughly what it is. You get an idea of where you're hurting at least. Then when you go in there and the physic opens it up, yep, exactly like it's being shown there. When they rip it open and they're told what they need to do, that is the time you ham it up. I had a traumatic wound card. My favourite one ever was, you feel nothing. I was like, oh, okay. And it just says, pass to a physic when you take your armour off. I got all the way back to my camp, and I was chatting to someone, and they had me take my armour off, and then I just went poof, like that, and people were like, what the hell's going on here? And then this hand comes up holding a traumatic wound card, and then everyone screams for a physic. And it's so, yeah, my chest literally went boom, just opened, and it was fantastic. Wow. So much fun. So much fun.
I mean, another little bit of advice to kind of give to people, kind of that point about your wound cards and stuff. Yeah, I mean, most of the role play I've had in the physic has been absolutely fantastic players. Absolutely will, like 99% of the time have. But I did have one incident where I had to kind of, we fudged it and it worked, but basically the player kind of acted as if I should have been able to see what was going on, and I was kind of like, right, so you know what's happening here, where does it hurt, kind of thing. And they were like, can't you see the great big arrow sticking out of me? And I'm like, well, no, I can't, Siri, because it's not actually there.
We're playing pretend.
Yeah.
Play the game.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I get the moment, but I can't actually physically see it. So I think it's just like remembering that, yeah, you were there on the battlefield, you know where you got hit, shot, whacked, whatever. But obviously the physic doesn't. So if you come in kind of screaming, my stomach, my leg, my head, that's really, really helpful, because it gives us a starting point without having to kind of navigate that awkward sort of, so where does it hurt? Well, clearly you've got a chunk ripped out of your skull or whatever it might be. Kind of clinging to the general area just to give physics an idea of where we're looking to start with is actually really helpful.
Yes.
Help us to help you.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the point of people being pinned down to be physicked or things like that, if you are not okay with that, that is not a thing that will happen.
No.
Yes. Definitely.
If you are not okay with something in the hospital happening, if you are not okay with being pinned down, if you are not okay with fake blood, heck, if you're not okay with the fact it's really quite loud in the hospital, you would prefer to be treated outside, let us know. We will help.
Yeah. I think that's a very important point. You don't do what you are not comfortable with. So I've had people who are very like the physical stuff. I quite like the physical side of it all. So I'm okay with it being like that. I have been asked by a physic if she can slap me around the face because I was hysterical. And I was like, yeah, go for it. And I got slapped. And I was like, oh, that was great. And it was fantastic. And the looks from everyone in the hospital were sort of like, Ooh, it's like the silence for that second, and it was just like, okay, it's like being told off by your mum. It was amazing, absolutely fantastic. So if you're not comfortable, say it. If you're comfortable, or you can say, "Oh, we do that. You can do whatever you want. I'm fine with it all." Then great. Then go for that as well. But it's all to add to everybody's game, because I'm assuming that if a physic is physically sat on someone's chest doing surgery on their skull, and they're writhing around and everyone's holding it down, then it's like that's truly epic for a physic, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the looks of you all, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. It ties into also what Susie was saying. Like, we get that you can be actually be quite emotionally wound up. It can be a scene with quite... But when I drop to my knees next to you, I'm going to say, all right, both hands on, stop your bleed count. Are you all right with me touching you? And I'm sorry for breaking immersion, but it's for both our safety.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a real... like, it's basically like the second most physical thing you can do at LARP after unarmed combat. And the rules of unarmed combat at Empire are very, very strict for a reason.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's very few things that you do as a physic which you can't ask IC if it's okay, like without it kind of totally absolutely ruining everything. I think pretty much anything that you would say to a physic, to a patient rather, to check OC whether it was okay, is probably something you'd also warn them about IC anyway. So I don't really think in terms of kind of asking permission from patients, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put my hand here, you know, and, you know, you talk them through how it's going to feel so they can react accordingly anyway. So you can kind of slide in the little kind of checks for permission without really kind of ruining everything for anybody. And there's no real moment where I've done it and I've thought, oh, that came across as really OC. It's kind of just all like floating quite smoothly with sort of the physics pattern anyway.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced anything massively immersion breaking, because if it's just that second or two of I want to do this, because I think Ed, I think you have done surgery on me before, and I remember you asking that.
Very probably, I've done surgery.
So I do remember you just saying, yeah, I just remember you saying, like, "Are you okay with me doing this and this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fine." And then it's straight back into it, and it's great. And it was fantastic. So I mean, I think
there is the only thing that's slightly immersion breaking is if you have to ask about fake blood. But people would rather you break immersion for half a second any time than spoil their lovely costumes. Do not get fake blood on my kid, friends, ever. I will go mental.
I don't care. I've walked out of that hospital, and they put fake blood inside the bandage, and it was just oozing out. And someone came up to me and poked it, and it literally went just like sprayed out, and it's just sort of like, see you later. It's fine. I'm all right.
That just reminds me of triage. Do you remember that guy, Ed, who had, was it his leg, the one who ended up dying, and the blood just the prosthetic thing just went psh, absolutely everywhere. And I was like, oh no, no.
If you can find, if you've not seen it, go and find the triage shots, and you know anyone in stream. Content warning. Worryingly good phys reps, including like lots of things like maggots.
Wow.
Excellent.
Look.
I think there's a comment there that says it would be nice if PD did more with the hospital and its players. I agree. I agree. I think PD are looking at everything across the board, aren't they? Though they try to do as much as they can for everyone. So it's I think the hospital. Sorry.
Sorry, because like we got the specific physics skirmish. Was that a couple of years ago now?
Yeah.
Just ages ago now. But yeah, that was really good. And then it kind of didn't happen again since. But like stuff like that, which is kind of like if you're usually kind of fairly low comm and you don't kind of necessarily feel confident for the big battles, but actually for this you will literally just be running around kind of fixing people. Like that's absolutely perfect. So more stuff like that would actually be really fun.
Yeah,
that was a really good opportunity.
That's really good. Right, so we've been going for over half an hour again for Group 2. So we'll drop back out and we'll get Group 3 in for this one. So so stay in chat, keep on going. How far down did I manage to scroll? 2/3. We're doing well.
Gabby
we
bunch.
are doing. Sorry.
We are a Gabby bunch.
We have
That's
done really, really well.
Yeah.
Hashtag Secret Physic Club. This is good, really, really good. So I'll come back to the intro screen again as we get in group 3, and then we'll come back to finish it off. So group 3 will be the last group, and we can go from there. Okay, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Gone are the halcyon days, gone are the days of yore. Gone are those halcyon days when we went off to war. Gone are the clouds that hung overhead, gone is the rain tinged with red. When the rivers ran red, red, 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 red. When the rivers ran red. Gone are those halcyon days, virtues we were strong. Gone are those halcyon days, we could do no wrong. Gone is the pride felt on that day, gone are the friends that entered the fray. When the rivers ran red, red, red. 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 When the rivers ran red. Gone are those halcyon days, we were all so lost. Gone are those halcyon days, we gladly paid the cost.
Cool.
So we're back again. So this is part 3. We're doing well. Thank you for everyone for sticking around. This is going quite smoothly.
Surprise!
I've only had the one beer so far. We're doing well. So, all right, we'll keep. So if the two people who have just joined, Emma, who is up above, and Vicky, who is to my right now.
Movie magic.
I've been wanting to do that for so long.
Can we high five? Is that possible? Is that viable?
Well, let's go.
Is that doable?
Oh, nearly.
Yeah.
There we go.
I felt it. I felt it in my heart.
Excellent. It might just be gas, though. I'd be careful.
In the heart, I hope not.
So,
Traumatic wound.
Sorry, my hand is so powerful.
Traumatic wound. I used to have long hair. Right. So if Emma and Vicky, you could do an introduction. ICOC, who you are, and then we'll carry on. Go on, Vicky, go for it. Oh,
me? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go on, Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma. I play Sister Alethea in Highguard, and I'm a pretty new player, but I really enjoy the Physic game, so I decided to come talk.
Excellent.
And I am Vicky. Hi, I've been playing Empire for about 2 years now. In character, I am Bastiani Fontani Udicasa, but as we have to say so often, and as Sonia said in the first part, and Amy said in the second part, B is fine. I am a freeborn Naga Physic and apothecary.
Fantastic. So, we had a lot of stuff planned out for this stream that we were going to sit down and everyone was going to talk about. I did tell you there'll be a lot of questions, and thankfully, there have been so many questions. I don't know where chat is at the moment. I'm just scrolling down, so we're
No,
getting
I've got
there.
it in a separate. Oh, although somebody's just said we've all got banging names, which is
Banging name.
good.
This is the amazing thing. Everybody in this, everyone in, I can see right now has a fantastic name. Then you get to me, Mac.
You tried.
Yeah, or a full name, Macus Belisarius Traherne 2 feet. There we go.
There you go. You've got a really long one too. There we
That's a
are.
good name.
But
Don't
it's
put yourself
but no
down.
one knows that. It's just Mac. It's just Mac. And
We do know.
so, questions. Right, I will try to get we'll try to get through these. If not, as I say, we will do a proper video for the hospital. I think that's what's going to be needed. It'll be nice and informative. So, question, Trelanda again. Trelanda's asking a lot of questions.
Good job.
This is good.
Yeah,
I
nice.
like this. Trelanda, you can come again. How can established players and characters best bring in and encourage newer players?
Ooh.
Just grab them, just drag them along.
Literally.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
That's
Well, this is the example I always give of how I became the hospital rep. Almost was that I made friends with the previous hospital rep before me, who is Stitches Tanglehorn, who is well known at the hospital. She was the previous Navarre hospital rep, and she just stood up and made an announcement at my very first event and went, "Do you physic? Come talk to me." And then I did, and she has been my biggest hype man from the beginning, and couldn't have been, prouder and happier when I took over. And that's something I try and emulate now as the current hospital rep, to try and do the same thing she did for somebody who was new and didn't know what they were doing, to bring people in and give them the same experience. That's encourage people, especially newbies who don't know what they're doing.
I've seen the next two questions, and they are both really interesting. So this would be a good. I really like these. Do you find that a lot of people avoid dealing with the hospital because of the intense roleplay?
Ooh,
I don't
know
hard to
if
tell
I've-
from the inside,
Oh.
actually.
Yeah.
Really hard to tell from the inside because we're always kind of there.
Mm.
I would say it's a possibility. I mean, if someone like kind of crowded areas, loud noises, physical like medical yak, then it's fairly reasonable that you could expect that they might avoid. But I think I don't know of anyone personally who avoids it. But I can see why people would, but kind of because I'm always there in the middle of it. It's really hard to tell if people are kind of just even if they come off the battlefield and they know they're injured, if like they're just kind of sailing back off to their camp where they can be healed in kind of a quieter, gentler environment. We would kind of never really know.
No,
because we're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I've seen evidence of is people avoiding the hospital, like, because they're playing a shithead.
Yeah.
Like, so like they'll people who have like briars who've got some terrible spring disease were like, the hospital, there's nothing wrong with me, and then their friends have to drag them. That's the only example I've ever seen of an in-character situation as opposed to maybe someone who's out of character.
I think if people are nervous, it's important to note that you don't have to go into the actual like chaos. When we were like doing battles, we had like a whole setup right outside the hospital, so we had like overflow for like more minor wounds, but it was a lot kind of quieter and calmer. And I feel like if that's like if the chaos is something that somebody's worried about, perhaps that would be a better place to go if you're injured like in a battle. I found it like a lot calmer.
Yeah.
So I think I think the better question would be then with that is, have you had players who you've gone up to try to do all this and they've just stopped and just said, I don't want to do this, can you just do the thing quick and so I can go, because they're not comfortable with it or anything like that? Or is it 100% across the board, everybody really wants to get into it and do it?
Usually everyone kind of just wants themselves in. I think sometimes you can kind of tell if people just want it sort of a quick job and kind of getting over with, which is always a shame if they do, and I always still try to give them a good role play experience. But if people are kind of just get on with it and go, then I can just do that and and move on to the next person, which is kind of a shame for me. But if it's for a reason that's kind of a noisy discomfort reason, then I would rather just do that. Sometimes I think it's because they perhaps don't realise how much fun it is when we get the good role play, which is why I think what we said in the previous session about how we want people to know that, you know, really do go for it, ham it up because we love it. Yeah, I think that's important that people do realise that. But if it's genuine, I don't really like this reason, then no one's going to drag them into the hospital and make them get seen to anyway.
No.
So hopefully it shouldn't ever be too much issue. But if it was and people just needed to walk out, we would.
Yeah, it's a good answer. Good answer. So this is another interesting one, and I think this is. We'll go. I'm going to pick on someone to answer this one first. So I'm gonna pick on Vicky.
All right.
All right. Are you ready for this? So
emotionally, I'm ready. The kind of tenets of freeborn existence is that everything is worth something, and if it's worth something, you should pay for it. So one of the most fun things about playing a freeborn physic is coming to Anvil, where the nation actually has a contract with the hospital that says essentially the heroes of Anvil pay in their blood, so they don't need to pay us money. But if you've spent your entire life writing up bills and being paid, it's a really fun contrast to have there, of in effect trying to rein that back. Definitely one of the coolest ways, because we talked a lot about surgery and really awesome like trauma related phys reps, but I think that what I do is really fun as well, which is virtue healing, which is basically you talk to someone and they get better, which I really love, because it's super easy to be collaborative. You don't need equipment, and you can pull in at least 3 or 4 other people to actually do the surgery while you're getting to know a person. But that ties in really closely to like little bits and pieces of who my character is as a person. And so I think one of the coolest places to look for what inspires your healing style is what gets you about your nation brief. So I know Kellen earlier was talking about poppets and things.
I have to stop you there because right. So apologies to everyone in chat. The stream died briefly. We are still live. It's fine.
Okay.
We are still live. But because I was looking at all the questions and trying to answer everyone's questions, I've now skipped all the way to the end. We were quite a way behind.
Wow.
So I do apologise for that. So they missed the question. So the question was basically what are the differences between nations and healing and physic and stuff like that. So I don't know how much. I think they just missed the question.
I don't think they missed much. I saw it blip out the corner of my screen shortly.
That's good. So what we'll do, because I'm not going to go all the way back through. Apologies to people for that. What I will do is I will go through. There was an advert. Bloody adverts.
Damn it.
I think Twitch will give me a cent for an advert. So I think am I
hearing Twitch is paying you to not broadcast me speaking? Because
I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to say anything, Vicky. I'm sorry.
It's a really clever idea.
What I will do is I will go back through all of this and I'll make a note of all of the questions asked on this stream. So when I do when we do the video, we will have all of those questions and they will all get answered. I promise you all that as well. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll get that sorted. So, So, apologies for interrupting you there, Vicky. But yes, there are differences. Carry on, Vicky.
One of the really fun ways, and then I promise I'll just stop ranting and let everybody else answer. One of the really cool parts of roleplay I found is asking your patient from a different nation what is important to them, because I know winter markers really like the scars as a sign of the epic battles they fought and survived, but somebody who maybe is a fashionable leaguish bravo might not want their face all scarred up. So talking to someone about that, I once was physicking a highborn Cambion whose horn had fallen off, and I was doing a very reassuring piece of physicking, saying in effect, have courage, it'll grow back. And he looked at me and he said, my lineage is the taint of the realms. And I went, ooh! Help! I need someone fluent in highborn over here. I don't know. And if you are a patient in the hospital, making that really clear, being like, leave the scars, or like, can you turn it into a tattoo, or here's my puppet, or whatever. Don't be afraid to bring in your half magic and make demands of your doctors, because that's really fun for us, and it's so much fun when you're playing a character that doesn't know what the F you're on about.
Yeah.
The clashes can be really quite fun, as you say, with that thing with the highborn player. I remember a friend of mine, her previous character was at the hospital briefly, and she was outside the hospital offering water to people as they went into battle, which, on hot events we still do when people are on their way in. And she she's going around, she's bouncing around, and then she asked a Varushkan soldier if he wanted a drink for the road. Which obviously a big no-no. So sometimes those little cultural clashes can just bring really fun role play. But yeah, I'm really excited actually to see how the new Hearth Magic development.
Yes.
Play. I'm
Navarre got some exciting things.
And because I don't really use Hearth Magic an awful lot in my role play, and that's something
I do.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a look at ours and kind of see how it can develop a bit more.
I once healed somebody by bleeding on them, which seems illogical. But Navarre Hearth Magic, we like blood magic and things. I don't know if that's really even accurate to our Hearth Magic, but I did it anyway. Someone had like a gaping wound, and I was like, I'm gonna just slit my hand open and bleed. And my bench partner was from Wintermark and was like, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, shh. Culture, just like spreading blood on somebody's wounds. It isn't cross contamination.
Just poisoning culture.
It worked.
Cutting yourself. Culture, my dear. That's what that is.
Every time you step into the Navarre woods, like
flashbacks. Yeah. Oh my god, that's brilliant.
I think Florina and Bastiana need to jingle around everywhere now, going culture, like waving our spells.
Yes. Could you two be quieter? No, it's our Hearth Magic. No, we have to find out some kind of jingle healing or some kind of very loud healing.
Someone in the chat just went and said something about blood diseases. That was horrible blood diseases.
I think Hearth Magic a really central role in a lot of people's physicking styles. Like, I'm planning on using lots of water and things like that, because cleanliness and things is really important in highborn culture. So I was planning on using water, but it's also quite nice, like, that people can join in with it, especially like with the jingling. I mean, technically you could ask for example, like a highborn, if you wanted to ring a bell for them, that would work. It would help,
just one bell,
just
one
ever.
Okay, so I scrolled back up a bit. That's probably a mistake. I probably shouldn't do it. I found a group of questions here. One of them is quite a question about an effect within games. This will be quite an interesting one. And oh no, it's scrolled away. Oh well. Anyways, so have you ever treated Kai? Hi Kai. Have you ever treated someone under the effect of unyielding constitution? If so, what was the RP like?
Don't know if I have.
I haven't.
No?
No. What does it do? I don't.
Right, Kai. When I do the video, we'll find someone who can answer that one, and we'll get them to answer it for
Dr.
you.
Tiberius will have done it.
Yeah,
we'll get Ed to do it.
We haven't, Ed.
Yeah, so we'll get Ed to answer that one for you when we do the video. All right, mate. So this is Critical MX. Do you use any methods or inspirations from weird OC historical medicine in your healing? Vicky, go for it. Come on, you look so excited.
I'm mostly just delighted because it's not my method. It is Sally Ann's, who is another amazing freeborn healer. She uses colours to balance humours.
Yes.
It's so much fun to share a bench because I'm up there doing all of the words and all of the like anesthetic essentially. And then I turn around and she's just placing like blue cloth and then sprinkling maggots on it. And I think I'm like, what are you? Humours. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So things like humans, I have a history degree and I love the history of medicine specifically, and there are a lot of people that take the inspiration from sort of weird Renaissance tools and humours and things like that. So you can absolutely look into basically anything in medical history and a lot of stuff in religious history that has accidentally worked. Basically,
I want to be trepanned.
Has it not been done? Surely.
That's my goal in the hospital. I want them to cut
a hole
drill.
Just get rid of it.
I'm pretty sure that's been done. Surely that's.
It hasn't happened to me yet. It's no. That's
just you wait.
Icy goal.
Drill.
It's good to
LARP safe drill.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Go ahead.
Just a chisel.
On the page, a lot of people post really interesting historical methods as well. I know Matt, that was speaking earlier, posts quite a bit of like Renaissance medicine, old style drawings and diagrams and stuff. It's really interesting to look into.
Excellent. So we have another question here. We'll pick on Emma for this one.
Which one?
We'll pick on newer Emma.
Okay.
Above me for this one. So, what is the most icy, controversial thing that has happened in or to the Anvil Hospital?
Oh, I don't know. Gosh, I don't know about this
or one. If we don't go for controversial, we'll go for what's the most interesting. So, since you've been involved in it, what's the most interesting thing that's happened to you or you've seen happen?
For me, well, the land sharks I think is probably the best one to start with. There was a big fight. I think it was on the Sunday of E3.
Yep.
And a lot of people ended up coming back crushed by land sharks. And there's some wicked photos out there of them. And that was my first like solo kind of surgery on a poor winter marker that had gotten his spine crushed by a land shark, and I had to pluck the little fragments out of his spine before he lost the use of his legs. But that was really fun. But I think the thing that sticks with me most is really simple. The most interesting thing, I just chatted to a Dornish guy who was getting he'd been impaled by an arrow in the chest, and we just spent like about 10 minutes just talking to him, and fixing him up, bandaging him, pulling this arrow out of his like chest and fixing that. That was just, it was good because of the talking, I suppose. That was fun.
I loved the land sharks. Probably for different reasons to you. I have a deal with a bet that we do every event with a man in the marches, an archer, and he bet me to essentially dry hump a land shark.
That's going to cause some medical issues.
Yeah. I won that bet. I didn't even end up in the hospital.
Swimming is such a specific term.
It was fantastic. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. And the stuff that we've come up with each other to do are fantastic. The first thing he dared me to do did put me in the hospital. So,
oh dear.
Yeah, don't twerk behind enemy lines.
I need that on a shirt.
Yeah, that was fun. That was
writing it down. Don't
twerk.
I think the other really interesting thing was the sovereigns as on a skirmish on a Saturday night that ended up cursing quite a few people, and I was quite confused for a while people were running back through the Sentinel Gate screaming their heads off. We ended up having to go looking for a priest with insight and exercise, I think, because they had quite nasty curses on them. But that was really fun.
Freeborn troublemakers there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
With kind of thing about the controversy, like this isn't necessarily controversial, but I think something that always kind of rocks the hospital when it happens is, like, it sounds daft, but when a patient dies, that obviously when we have patients who die, this kind of falls into two camps. Obviously, you have the ones who go through terminal, where we know they're going to die. All we can do is make them comfortable, and we all get to have really sad role play about it, and it's great. But then you have it where they die, but they could have been saved, like something could have kind of with them. And I think that always kind of shakes people a little bit, like both without the hospital, but like because obviously with Empire Healing, as we've said a couple of times, you can do pretty much whatever you want, and like that's it, you're sorted. As long as you kind of basically do what it tells you on the traumatic wound card, that's fine. and it's actually it's quite difficult for someone to die in like once they're there and in the hospital, unless they're terminal, that them actually dying is quite unlikely. So when that does happen, which in the actual hospital itself, the only time I've ever seen that happen is because of poison, where we've not been able to find the person who knows how to fix it in time. But at the triage event, there was a few things which kind of did crazy things and couldn't be healed. But because healing in the Empire is so broad, when it does happen and we can't save someone who did actually have something fixable, that's a bit like, whoa. And other people are a bit like, whoa, but you're the hospital, you can do pretty much anything. So when that does happen, I think everyone I see and OC is a bit like, oh no.
Usually.
Oh no.
Lots of emotional role play comes out of that, which is great.
I remember that when we got the new Druge poisons through a few
Oh,
seasons ago last year.
yeah,
And just
yeah.
the horror of
And there was
seeing
one
Dr. Siberia
person who knew what to do. Yeah.
right, just seeing him sprint out of the tent, and that's really fun as players. But it also ends up you do feel a little bit like, is there anything we could have done? Because I think we lost a couple of people to it.
Worst feeling.
Mm.
I had my very first event. I was kind of like unsure of what I was doing, but I'd found my way to the hospital sort of thing. I didn't really know what was going on, but I was helping heal after a skirmish had come through. It was a Navarre skirmish as well, and I looked up at one point from my bench and saw one of my striding members laid out dead on a tarp across the way. And my first event, I'd never even LARPed, let alone like come to Empire, and I just felt this cold dread like seep into me, and it was really something like just seeing him sort of laid out there. We were like, oh shit, oh boy. Like, it's amazing how much it affects you for a game that you know in your head is fake. Like, it's amazing how much something like that can really like affect you, especially in a life or death situation like the hospital.
I think life and death is something that we talk about it a lot on. I do a lot of LARP streams, and we talk about like character bleed, and we talk about things like that. And it's one of those things that when you don't know how to react to it until it actually happens to you. I've come out of a battle, and my icy cousin, she died in the hospital, and we, the rest of my striding, the 2 feet, we carried her back to the Navarre.
Yeah.
And we had her laid down, and we didn't know how to react. It was carrying her, we didn't know how to react. We laid her down and sung a story circle, and we just like, oh, and people came up and it's like, are you alright? It's like, you're crying. It's like go away, you're crying. And stuff, and things like that. And it's amazing. It's the role play in it is fantastic. So I absolutely love it, and I personally I can't thank what you lot do enough. I really can't, because the hospital and physics healers give some truly epic role play. I've got so many stories of being healed up and being carrying people around. So the plucky Brit, thank you for your subscription, by the way. That's amazing. People who subscribe to me fund competitions that I run for LARP, so it's all great. Had to help the Ashwood striding at E4 to turn the circle on one of theirs who died after going on a Vlorn skirmish. That was awesome, RP. Yeah, I can imagine. I could imagine. I did one bit of surgery that I witnessed on. People who know Mac and Grim. We are inseparable, and we were in an unfortunate skirmish where we got romped royally. We got walked all over, and Grim went down, and Mac stood over him, was trying to defend him, and someone from the hospital, who I think she had come on her first ever skirmish, was on her knees between my legs doing surgery on Grim, and I'm stood over them with my mace and my hammer, trying to defend them. We had a few people with us, and then basically she got him up, we all ran, she stumbled, and then got hacked down. She died.
No.
She died.
Oof.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It's that kind of stuff that really, yeah.
Wow.
We didn't know. We thought she was right with us, but it turns out from what you hear is that I think she tripped on something, and she OC she just went down, and then that was it.
Worst.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
I think that skirmish there was over 100 casualties,
Wow.
100 player deaths. So
We love it.
it's amazing fun. It is
Love
such
is
We
it's
love
such
the
good fun.
pain.
There's that gives the roleplay for surgery, for death, for combat. Mark Humes and Tabletop Weekly, he did one of his videos, and they actually talk about that skirmish on it, and they mention her as well in that, and it's they talk about it from another angle, but yeah, well, definitely worth a watch, that one as well, if you go and find that one too. But it's so good. I think what we'll do is, because we've been going for, I tried to limit these to an hour. What OC year was it? I think it was 2 years ago. Eva, who's normally Dawn, who's normally in chat, she corrects me on a lot of stuff because she is a lot more intelligent than me. 3 years ago, maybe. It was a few years back, and what I like to do on these, because we've been going for about an hour and a half, just over an hour and a half. I try to limit it to an hour, but I think if we bring it to a close, what we'll do is I'll ask one question to each of you, because I think it'll be a nice way to bring it to a close. So, Amy, start with you, if you're all right with that.
Mm-hmm.
What has been the best moment for you since working in the hospital?
My best moment, the thing that comes to mind, I mean, there's the sounds, and it'll be the same for everyone. But the thing that immediately came to mind was actually that one Emma was talking just about, where there was the horrible thing with the Sovereign, so some freeborn players had started something, and they'd gone off to Varushka with some Varushkans and come back. They all were kind of cursed with this really sort of, it was more of a mental thing, and they were all kind of really traumatized from it. So we were kind of seeing to that. We had priests, we had the physics, and obviously for Florina, she was the only freeborn person in the hospital at the time, and it was kind of a case of these are people from my nation, they are my friends, so I've got to kind of see this as best I can. So she was running around sort of help them get sorted. Then the Kohan appeared outside the window, because one of the players was a Kohan, and they started singing this song called Freeborn Daughter, which is a really, really beautiful song, and it all kind of just came to a head, and they basically recovered an artifact, and this kind of really hit Florina hard, because her partner died the event before, and lost one of the freeborn, the big freeborn artifacts went with him. So it all kind of suddenly hit, and she just legged it to the other side of the hospital, just was pretty much stood there having a breakdown, and Tiberius just kind of came over, and it was just this kind of the chaos and the comfort, and it was although it wasn't specifically kind of a fun kind of injury role play, it just kind of summed up everything about the hospital for me, which is the fun injury role play, but also kind of the social and the emotional sort of side of it, because my friends in the hospital are some of my best friends on the field, and kind of getting to share some really emotional moments with them is always just such a massive high point for me of these events.
Fantastic. Okay, so Vicky.
Hello.
I'm not asking you your best moment. No, I'm not going to ask you that one.
Fine.
What would you?
All of them, darling.
What would you say would be the best thing that could happen to the hospital, that players can do to help improve everything at the hospital?
Oh, I mean, as in non-physic players, or as in players who are already kind of members of the hospital?
Players.
I mean, players in general.
Across the board. We'll go across the board here.
I mean, Sonia said it at the beginning of the stream, and I think we've covered it a few times, but healing is one of the most collaborative games out there, and everything about it you can share. It takes a lot of work when you first rock up to take a look around the other 80 or so people, or 40 or so people, or 10 or so people who have exactly the same skill tree as you, and are also pretty new and pretty anxious, or have been doing this for way longer than you, and commit yourself to a collaborative game, and not one where you want to hoard all the fun things because you hear all these amazing stories and you're like, I want to have those, but you'll have those when you share it around. if you are a new physic, it's not a confession of failure to be to call in your fellow physics to consult. It's not the case that you have to solve everything yourself. Don't be worried and don't be scared to consult other people, because that means that the game is shared. It's way more fun. The emotion can be shared. It's way more fun. In terms of players, don't be afraid of telling us what you do and don't want done to you. Some of us work the OC checks into IC questions. Some of us do a little OC check-in before we start. But if somebody is doing something you're not comfy with, or if you want to go further, talk to your physic, talk to your healer, and ask if they're comfortable, happy, excited to do that. Because the more we communicate, the more we negotiate, the better our game will be. Also go and meet your nation rep. Verena / Amy is mine, and she's fantastic. And obviously, we've met a whole bunch of other fantastic nation reps earlier. Don't be worried about approaching more senior players or consulting more senior players, because we are all sharing the game. So I think my approach to improving the hospital game would be removing, if I could reach into every LARPer's brain and take out that little bit of anxious, grabby fear that means that you take plot and you hold on to it. The more people you can involve and the more bits that you can do involving their own half magic and poking their own buttons, the better we make the whole game. This is not hospital specific.
Yeah, Jake Dar's just hit the nail on the head there. Consent for the win.
Precisely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. I'm thinking up all these questions on the spot, by the way. So
good to know.
So we'll go for new Emma.
Okay.
That one. So you haven't been at the hospital for very long. What is the one piece of roleplay that you would love to experience within the hospital that you haven't experienced yet?
Ooh, I've heard really cool stories about magical traumatic wounds. So dealing with some interesting kind of things that aren't necessarily like real life type things. I think they sound really interesting and really cool. I've heard like things like bees in the bones, or like frogs, like something to do with frogs and hearts. I know that's a thing. But dealing with the magical trauma sounds really cool. But I also quite enjoy emotional roleplay, and I know that spiritual wounds are things, so I'm quite interested in learning about that, and getting more involved with like spiritual things. I was actually looking at winter magic because like after E3 with the sovereigns, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like I like the idea of curing curing curses and things. So I think that's something I'm going to look into in the future.
Yeah, excellent. That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a question that's just popped up in chat, which I'll answer quickly. When monstering, do you do healing stuff then, or seek out barbarian healers for your injuries? If you're monstering, there'll be monster healers on the field, and they will deal with you. But the best thing to do, you're going to respawn. Give a player a fantastic death. Let them kill you in an amazing way. It's so much fun. It's hilarious.
I play a slave healer normally because I have glasses. I can't normally wear a mask. So I play a slave healer, and it's some of the funnest roleplay you get to do. Me and my friend often play a sort of snivelling, gross little creatures that hobble about the field after our masters and sort of throw herbs at people. And it's honestly some of the best roleplay is pissing about as a slave healer. It's such a laugh, honestly. Like I recommend giving it a go because it is good fun. That's a fun one.
Excellent. I like definitely being healed by that. I've been healed by I think by a child trying out the physics stuff.
They're the best role players.
They're amazing.
They're the best.
If you ever get the chance to be healed by one of the children there, I heartily recommend it.
The kid role players are up here. They're so
they're so good.
I had an injured chest. They wanted to amputate. That's where I'm going to leave that. We'll leave that one there. So, question: how would one cure a werewolf? No, sir, I'm going to slap you, silly. I will find you.
You love a werewolf. That's the only true way to cure it.
Always. So, Emma.
Yes.
This is the question that I always finish my streams with.
Mm.
This is not going to be hospital related for you.
Okay.
Shock horror. So,
Shock horror. Yes.
Why do you LARP?
Why do I LARP? Oh boy, give me the deep one. I don't know. There's almost two facets to it. In that I love to act, but there's so few opportunities for people outside of an age 18 to 20 bracket to do any kind of theatre anymore. That's sort of you can find adult theatre or whatever. But so there's that aspect in that there's not really any community theatre for me anymore, and that's something I grew up loving. And LARP gives me that opportunity. I love fantasy stories and making up my own worlds and things, so that gives me an opportunity there too. And people always say to me, like, are you doing it to escape your sad life? Like, you get that question of like, are you looking to escape your feelings or whatever? I don't know, something kind of like, people think it's kind of weird and sad. But I think I LARP because it gives you the opportunity to, play other people, try out different things without maybe I was going to say a fear of repercussions. That sounds wrong, but do you know what I mean? Like, I've seen friends of mine go from being incredibly shy people to phenomenally confident in their own lives because they've had the opportunity to play somebody confident and cocky.
Yeah.
And then that's bled back into their own life, and they know how to handle themselves now. And it's the opportunity to play something, to do something different, to experience these fun things. And there are the community that you get out of LARP as well. Like, I've never met people kinder and more helpful than I have at LARPs, and I think that's a sense of community that is often, I don't know, lost. That's nice.
Fantastic.
That got deep.
That's a great answer, and it generally does. I will explain as well, thanks to Scott. The werewolf thing came because my first character was accused by the Shattered Tower of being a werewolf and murdering people. So I've still got the poster that they made. I kept it, and it's a picture of a werewolf and a picture of me. It's amazing. It was fantastic roleplay. It was really good. So we'll end it here. I'm good. I'm when everyone else has gone, I'm going to come back on because I've got a couple of little announcements to make about my channel and stuff. So I will be back. So we'll head back to the other screen, and then I will be back on in 30 seconds, a minute or so. So
thank you so much for hosting.
Yeah. Right.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Come to the hospital.
Come to us.
Yes, let's say that. So yeah, if you're interested, go at the next event. Go there, join the group. Yeah, ask questions. They want volunteers. They want people. Yes, yeah, they really do.
Scream and yell with us. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I will be back. I will be back in a second.
Okay. Bye.
Gone are the halcyon days. Gone are the days of yore. Gone are those halcyon days when we went off to war. Gone are the clouds that hung overhead. Gone is the rain tinged with red. When the rivers ran red, red, 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 red. When the rivers ran red. Gone are those halcyon days.
So this is not a massive announcement. It's just a couple of things. I am running competitions. I am going to do the stick giveaway and the Darkblade stuff giveaway. That should arrive here shortly. I'm going to do it all on Tuesday, and we're going to focus on getting the competitions done first. All right, I promise you all we'll get those done. Thanks to everyone who's subscribed and done the Prime stuff. I'm so grateful. It's paid for the competition through Darkblade. It's paid for it all, and yeah, I want to do more. So suggestions, anything like that, to get this community that we seem to have built growing, getting more people involved, more things to do, let me know, and I want to do more. There are so many fantastically talented people out there when it comes to it all, and I think boosting everybody and pushing everyone when it comes to LARP, because it's such an incredible hobby, is something I'm really keen on doing. So I just wanted to say personally, the support that I've been getting, the messages from people, I really appreciate it. I have anxiety and I get down, so having people message me and stuff like that, I really appreciate it. You really have kept me going, and I can't be more grateful to everybody who's been here. I really can't, and I can't be more grateful to everyone in this hobby either, because I've met some fantastic people. So that's my soppiness out of the way. So that's that announcement done. I'm doing another one for the Apothecary Guild soon, and we'll get that streaming as well. I'm going to attempt, because a friend of mine, Adam, is doing a Call of Cthulhu stream at the moment, raising money for Black Lives Matter. And that's something very prevalent in the world right now, and I think it's fantastic. So my support is I'm going to attempt to raid his channel, which is a positive thing that Twitch done. I've never done it before, so you are all my guinea pigs. So forgive me for what happens here. Yes, Mac raid. So he won't see me, hear me, or anything like that. It's just going to flash up on his screen saying, however many people are here have raided his channel and he's come from here. And it will be a laugh, and hopefully, yeah, so we're there to harass, basically. Okay, so let's see if I can get this working. Right, there's 27 people in there. And let's start that raid. Should take a second. 8, 9, 10, 11, 14, 15, 17. Raid now.
There we go.
Yay.